Hey everybody, it's your host, Hager Neeb. I also go by Blah1000. And we got another hot podcast coming at you right after, or the beta's still going on as we're recording this. It ends tomorrow. But the beta's still going on and the NDA is lifted. So we have a lot to talk about. Joining me, I have two guests, two other beta testers. If you guys want to introduce yourselves, starting with Rabid Jellyfish.
Yep, that's me. I'm Rabid Jellyfish. I guess most of my online followers know me from speedrunning LBP. So I'm a big Media Molecule fan, but I also do game development as a hobby. So obviously I'm really excited about Dreams. So I've been playing that a lot.
Nice. How about you, Disarmed?
Oh yeah. Hold on. Disarm here. You guys know me from that one scenery, dude. And Media Molecule may have sparked my new addiction. I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing, but all I know is I gained 5 pounds in the last few days.
Damn.
I have. Oh god, that game is really addictive.
Yeah. I was in the beta as well. And yeah, I haven't been as addicted to it as I thought I'd be. I've been like preoccupied with college and more specifically Resident Evil 2. But I created a couple things. I'm proud of myself. But I guess let's start from the very beginning. So of course this was a private beta. And they did like a whole newsletter thing. Won't go over that too much, but it was a private beta. Media Molecule sent out invites. So how early did you guys get into the beta? Because I managed to get my code within like the first, like either the first wave or the wave right after that. But it was during my winter break. So I was able to get in like fairly early, but I know a lot of people got in like way later. Like what was the story for like you guys on how early you're able to get in?
Yeah, Rabbit, Jelly, you can go first.
Oh, yeah, sure. I mean, I was one of the people who signed up for the newsletter because I thought they were hinting towards it kind of a lot, where they like sign up for the newsletter to like be the first to hear about beta news or whatever. So I was like, okay, I guess I'll sign up for that. I signed up for it in like November. And then I think like the very next stream or 2 streams later or something, I don't know, they said newsletter people get in on, I think, December 19th, was it?
Yeah.
It was sometime during that month.
Yeah, so I got in pretty early.
Nice.
For me, it's funny. This is kind of strange, and this sounds like a conspiracy theory. I think I explained it to Avery, AC Drummond. They had invited me back in 2015 at the very end of the year. Like I've been sitting on that invitation or that idea of an invitation for forever.
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of thought they were. I didn't sign up for a newsletter because there was no way I would have ever known. And I think I sent them a message like, "Hey, does that like offer from like 3 years ago still stand?" And they're like, "Oh yeah, we'll try to rectify that. That would be a little strange." So I think it was like the day after. But man, was I scared! I was sitting there with my friend, like panicking, like, "Oh God, I'm gonna have to actually live life for the next month."
Yeah.
Again. Oh
no.
Thank you. What I got in.
Like a similar thing actually kind of happened to me. It wasn't like as official sounding as that, but it was, and I've mentioned this before, a few years ago, me and my good friend, his online alias is DaxJack, we visited the MM studio like the summer after I graduated high school. And while we were there, like Jenny was like, "Oh yeah, YouTube will be on the list, don't worry." And we're just like, yes. But I still signed up for the newsletter. I was like, as soon as they had a newsletter, I signed up for it because I figured like they won't have a newsletter for nothing. So thankfully I had the hindsight and like I got my code within like the first like 2 waves. But it was funny because I actually got my code while I was on an airplane because I was actually flying to visit my family over Christmas. So like even though I got sent the code like via email while I was on the plane without realizing it. Then when I landed, I was like, oh, sick. I got it. So, but yeah, like that first week was so nerve-wracking when it comes to codes. Like everybody was freaking out, especially with the newsletter thing, which could have been done better, but you know, that's what can you do?
It was a little strange how they tackled that. Hold up, I don't know what just happened. I think I choked on air. Like I'm not even. I just felt like a really high pressure in my throat, and I was like, ugh.
It happens.
Ghost is trying to finish me off.
Yeah, did you peeve off any like spiritual entities in your?
I don't know. I was looking out the window while listening to you speak, and I just kind of went, oh. Like just to breathe in some air, because you know that's a basic human need. And
yes, I'll just die now.
Yeah. Oh my god, hold up.
Man, that polluted city air is gonna come after you, man.
Yeah,
you gotta watch out.
I think my AC threw something into my throat. Oh god. But yeah, they could have. I definitely think I love Me and Molecule, and I know they're a small studio. So maybe this was the best low-key way to do it without like giving themselves too much to bite off or have to deal with. But that newsletter thing was so like I was actually kind of in shock when they said, "Oh yeah, so if you're signed to the newsletter, you'll get it." And I was like, "What?" I was like, "What?" Like, I don't even sign up to newsletters for things I use like every day. Like what?
Yeah, I mean, I understand why they did it, because it was heading into the holidays. Like most of Media Molecule was going to be out for like vacation or whatever, so they had a skeleton crew. They didn't want to just open up the beta to everybody at that time because the skeleton crew would have died. Like, so they didn't do it like to screw people over. They did it because they wanted only a few people in it from the beginning.
Yeah.
And it seemed, I guess they saw the numbers of like who signed up for their newsletter and were like, this is an amount of people we can handle. So let's just do that for now.
Yeah, because like I was telling people that too, but everybody gets like angry about it on Twitter, and I understand some of their frustration, but I also understand that they're not a giant studio. Like most other like Sony first-party studios, you see like whole buildings dedicated to them. You know, like Santa Monica.
Yeah, their studio is literally like 2 floors of like an office building in Guilford. Like that's their entire studio. Like that's all they. I mean, I'm sure they have Sony connections, but I like Sony or like Media Molecule is basically like more of a AA studio, even though they're considered AAA. Like it's kind of crazy. Like the workload they give themselves. Like let's just give let's give our fans just a game engine. Let's make a game engine, guys.
Yeah, dude, that's like. I was talking about this. I did a stream the other day, and I think Johnny was watching. Yeah, Johnny was watching. I don't know if these are the same person. Bogdan. I think that's the same person, right? Or no, 2 different people. Bogdan, Johnny, and someone else. And I remember sitting there and like praising them for building something like that. Like just saying like no one wakes up in the morning and says I'm gonna make like a engine like capable game that like anyone could jump onto, build all the assets inside of. There's a music mixing software. There's animation. Like this is insane.
The thing that blows my mind isn't even just that. They didn't just say let's just make an engine that people can like make stuff in on the PS4. They're like, let's make an engine, but let's make it as like freeform and flexible as possible, which means let's do everything completely from the ground up to the point where like we don't even use polygons. We're gonna use like point clouds and voxels and distance fields instead to like. And it like works really well. It's like, how do you even do that? You're wizards.
Yeah, and it's like clean cut. Like some of the stuff I'm seeing people make with just I guess with supported with the engine looks better than most games I've seen out there.
Yeah, like with how good the game looks, like specific for me, it's like the reflections. So I know like. especially like with your creations, Disarmed. I see you using reflections everywhere and like the shininess on materials and stuff. But like I feel bad for blanking out on their name now, but who just released their pool level?
Oh, Johnny.
Johnny.
Me Molecule.
Okay. Oh, Johnny B. That's it. Okay. I feel bad because I missed that live stream. You'd think as a podcast host I would like have all my stuff, but little do you know, I am very unprepared. However, I did see. I saw some footage specifically on Twitter of that level, and it's like. That entire room, all this guy had to do to impress people was make a pool table, like just a functioning pool table, like that, like kept track of your score and stuff like that. But this mad lad over here makes like an amazing room with wallpaper and a fireplace, and just like completely like blows people away. It's actually crazy how detailed that room is.
There's a fun fact to Johnny, and they say it a lot during the streams, but I always see it more prevalent whenever he shows, especially when he showed that off. I was like, because I sit down and like work on the micro details for things, and I know how long it takes to do those kinds of things. It's kind of a pain in the butt almost, because sometimes you have to make sure like, oh, is that correct? Is that too steep? Is that too little? You know, otherwise people stare at it and be like, ugh. But he got all his details down, and I was wondering like, what kind of experience could he have had to get structures like that perfectly down. Apparently, he was an architect at some point, or a carpenter. Like he used to build stuff or something, like houses or that. So I guess all that experience from actually like building real like structures really helped with like building that room. Cause, oh my god, does it show?
Yeah. It's actually great. Like. How we can, because the trouble with the LBP games was no matter what you made in LBP, you can make something that looks like amazing. Like Steve Big Guns made a first-person shooter in that game. However, in LBP, you could always tell it was LBP. Even if Sackboy wasn't directly on screen, you would recognize like the decorations people use, and just the overall like visual style. Like you can't deviate too much from LBP within the LBP game. Dreams, however, just lets you do whatever the heck you want. Like seeing when the NDA lifted and everybody was posting all their stuff to Twitter and all that and social media, it was so satisfying to watch gameplay of one person's dream and like kind of the feeling they were going for, and then scrolling down and immediately seeing a completely different art style. Like this is gonna help people branch out so much.
Yeah, like I follow Pro Builder that I don't know if either of you use Unity, but like there's this Unity extension called Pro Builder, and that for like prototyping like level geometry and stuff. And they retweet stuff that people make like all the time with Pro Builder. And it's like following all these dreams people and also following Pro Builder. It was getting mixed up in my timeline and I could not tell which was which.
Yeah. I saw somebody posted a screenshot of Crackdown 3 and they tagged it with like, look what I made in Dreams in 10 minutes. and honestly, and this isn't hate towards Crackdown 3, but it isn't the best looking game but it's to the point where it's like I can believe someone made that screenshot in Dreams. Like I can believe that. Like if somebody like hasn't seen Crackdown 3 or hasn't even heard of it, and they saw that screenshot, I'm sure they would be fooled and they'd be like, wow, Dreams was really great. But I thought that was funny.
I think Jelly would like probably like, because you mess around with like Unity, right?
Yeah, a little bit.
I'm trying to like slowly start getting into like using actual engines because I want to like build eventually. I don't know what kind of project, but something later on. But one thing I can give Dreams, I feel like, I don't know if you feel like this should be something they should do, but do you think game engines like Unreal, Unity, and all the other ones should take examples from Dreams and improving their engine?
Yes. I mean, it's not that simple because I mean, Dreams is. It took me like a few months to get like comfortable with Unity, like to where I'm not an expert by any means, but I could get to a point where I kind of knew what I had to do to like make stuff. With Unreal, it took even longer, like maybe a year before I was like kind of okay with Unreal. Dreams took me 2 days to like get familiar enough with the tools to like be able to just like sit down and make stuff. And they had like only a few tutorials. And it's like, so like part of the reason for that is that Dreams has like a low breadth of tools, but it has a lot of depth. Like there aren't a ton of discrete things you need to learn to like be effective with Dreams. But like each tool you can do so many different things with, and that'll kind of come with experience. So like it's really easy to pick up in that sense. I'm kind of rambling. I don't even really know where I'm going with this, but also part of it is just like the motion controls are a huge thing because like with the mouse and keyboard, that's another thing. Like a lot of people want mouse and keyboard in Dreams, but I don't know if that's such a good idea because with the mouse you have 2 dimensions of precision, like just X and Y. You can point in X and Y in space. With the DS4, you have 3. Like you have the 3 axes of rotation, so you can point in X and Y, but then also tilt left and right. And then with the Move controllers, each one has 6 dimensions of precision, where you can like place things in 3-dimensional space and rotate them at the same time with 2 controllers. So you just like can do so many different things in parallel that you can't do in like Unity or Unreal unless they add like VR modes, which I haven't tried, which maybe they have. I don't know.
I mean, I don't know. Like, I wish we had VR in this beta, but like when it comes to motion controls, I know like because this was while the NDA was closed. Like on the feedback forums, talks about like implementing a non-motion control option. It was like on the top of the feedback list because don't get me wrong, like the motion controls are really good for creating, like the best I've like seen in a game, because a lot of people want to hate on motion controls because of stuff like WiiWare games and stuff like that, but like, and people know this if you played VR, if you do motion controls correctly, then they're the best thing ever. But like rest assured, I know they said this on the feedback forums, but Media Molecule has said that they are working on a non-motion controller option for input for Dreams, which is necessary because a lot of people like simply can't use motion controls when you're talking about like disabilities and stuff like that. So like they haven't confirmed whether they're having support for third-party devices like keyboards or mice or whatever. But like you'll definitely have an option with the PlayStation 4 controller without movement, which is great.
Yeah, I agree that is great for like accessibility reasons, but I still think it's kind of a misconception that people are like, yeah, motion controls, but have you ever used a mouse? Have you seen how precise the mouse is? And it's like, dude, I was playing a whack-a-mole game like yesterday on stream, and I was like faster with the motion controls than I would be with a mouse, I'm pretty sure.
This one I've been thinking about a lot. I was talking to my friend with Roth Neal and Noon. Roth Neal's you already know who Roth is. He's like the dude I always work with stuff on Dreams. But me and him were saying, thinking, because there's no release date for this game yet. You know, like there's like no hint to a release date. All we've had is the beta. So at least we know like the game works. But I'm pretty sure it's still gonna take a while before they release it. So I was thinking, it's a little strange that recently there's been like rumors about like a PS5. So what I'm thinking, I mean, I don't know if they would do this, but I mean, there's no reason they couldn't do it unless they want to like annoy fans. But in terms of boundaries with like any like commitment, because they haven't again given release. Do you think they would release this as a PS5 launch title if that's coming sooner than we think?
I think it's possible.
Yeah. I think we're gonna have oh man, it sounds bad to say this, but an LBP3 situation. Not that the game is gonna come out and be buggy and awful like Little Big Planet 3. That's not what I'm going at. But just the it's going to release for both platforms, because I don't have a doubt in my mind that this is releasing for the PS4. It's definitely 100% going to be on PS4, or else fans will riot. But with that said, I also do think it's gonna be on the PlayStation 5 whenever that comes out, whether it's a year from now or 2 years from now or whatever, even if they announce it this year. I'm not too familiar with the industry to say anything, but
I don't know about launch title, but I know in one of the Game Informer interviews, they asked about PS5, and Media Molecule was sneaky, and they were like, well, don't know anything about that, but if hypothetically a PS5 ever came out, I guess we'd just port Dreams to that. So it'll definitely almost definitely be on PS5. I don't know about launch title though.
Yeah. I could definitely not see that on launch. I definitely think it would be interesting to have it on the PS5, because I feel like any people this always happens in the beginning of the console generation, depending on how well they can sell the consoles, just how good it is, right? And I feel like if a PS5, they're doing a lot of stuff for it now. Apparently, well, this is a rumor, so this can be taken with a grain of salt, but apparently it's gonna have backwards compatibility for the PS1, 2, 3, and 4 games.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's true, but if that's a rumor that does, happen, if that's something that's actually real, the thing right there, I really feel like, as opposed to, you could just buy a copy of Dreams for the PS4 and just play on the PS5, and maybe there would be some kind of functionality that the PS5 gives to that copy or something. I really feel like that would be an interesting way to get people into Dreams, because it would be one of the many few first games they play on that console. And it's like a throwback to Little Big Planet 1. The first game I played on the PS3 was Little Big Planet.
That would be really interesting. I know, especially from the transition from PS3 to PS4, Battlefield 4 did this thing where, or I think it was a GameStop deal, where if you had a PS3 version of Battlefield 4, you could get it on PS4 for a certain amount of money or something like that. It might have been $10 or $20, where, and it's Dreams, I think it's not gonna be it's not gonna be as messy as that. But if it does come out on the PS5, which odds are it's looking like it is, Media Molecule is just going to have to sort out a method of just allowing whether it's tied to your profile or something like that, because it's hard to say anything right now, because we don't even know what the PS5 is right now. So we don't know if all of our PS4 profiles are going to transfer over or anything like that. Especially with crossplay and stuff, all of that is going to be crazy nuts. But it's good to speculate about and think about just for Dream's sake.
Because I want to see that game do great.
Yeah.
I feel like the traction is gone. And I hate to defend the NDA breaks, but I will say that when the Dead Space from Quinn Barnett the Dead Space thing got shown off, or the PT got shown off, that was the most traction I've ever seen for Dreams. Ever.
Yeah.
And then following, it was insane.
Oh yeah.
And that kind of made me think about why the NDA was there. I was actually surprised the NDA broke before the beta ended, because I had assumed when I saw the PT thing, my my conspiracy theory was that they knew how quickly the game would explode when they showed all the user generated content that people made in the beta, but they didn't want to show it because they weren't ready. They're still far away from release, so they weren't ready to get all this attention yet. But then I don't know, they dropped the NDA and like everyone's sharing all this stuff now. So I guess maybe that's not true. Or we're close to release.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I think, and this was also the reason why the beta was had a restricted age limit. I think the NDA was mostly on Sony's side. I doubt that Media Molecule really advocated and pushed for an NDA. I think if it was Media Molecule's choice, they would have not had one at all. Maybe I'm wrong. Like, I don't know. Maybe the developers over there, like, weren't super comfortable with having a potential, like, game-breaking bug out in the open so soon. But, like, this beta, it works really well. And actually, let's transition into actually talking about the beta itself. So, overall, because like this isn't like a publicity kind of beta like the Destiny betas or Call of Duty betas were. This is a strictly like bug fixing kind of beta, for sure. And what kinds of bugs have you guys found? I found a few, but I want to hear from you guys, like what kind of stuff that kind of sticks out to you.
Joe, you got anything? I got one, but I want to save that for last. It's gonna be
I have
strange.
at least one. Like the most annoying thing for me was like, sometimes you'll try to put something in a microchip and it just won't. Like it'll just, you can take like microchip components and like, you can either place them around in space, just like wherever, or you can put them on like a microchip circuit board to like organize it more neatly. Sometimes you try to place it on it'll like snap to the circuit board, and then when you let go of the trigger, it'll just like place itself in space.
Oh,
and
right.
That's like super irritating, and it gets worse if the grid is on.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. The grid. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure that's something they'll fix. Yeah, the grid just in general is kind of, I don't know, it's kind of annoying.
Yeah. I didn't have problems with it at the beginning, but now I'm starting to realize it. When I was trying to put things in the scene, I started realizing everything was not on the grid. So I'll try aligning it, and everything would have like a problem with each other. But, oh no. Bugs. So I had like 3, but I had one on stream with the devs watching, and I felt like they were probably sitting there clenching their legs because I had like quite a few people watching at that moment. So I tried playing it off. Well, I didn't play it off. This is a beta, so it is, this is the purpose of the beta, is to test out all those things. But one of the things I had was tags would not send a signal out, even if I turned it on and off from like its source. So I was sitting there with tags that would not work, and that was a giant like halt in like working on anything, because if I couldn't get a tag to send to a sensor, this and that, like I was kind of sitting there, oh my god, like freaking out. So.
Yeah, the tags like kind of trip me up as well. And this isn't because it was a bug. I actually haven't had a bug with the tag, so it's interesting to hear from you. But they changed how tags worked in this game. So now it seems like the focus is more on labels, because every sculpt you have, every object in the scene now has labels, which are basically built-in tags if you're coming from a LBP background. So it mixed me up. I'm so used to just stamping tags on everything to identify them as objects, to the point where I'm like, wait, some of these sensors are only detecting labels and don't take a tag input. So it took me a while to wrestle around that.
It seems like tags are more. It seems like tags and labels are used. Like labels are more for like physics, sort of collision based kind of stuff, and then tags are more for like general purpose labeling stuff. I don't know.
Yeah, it is really weird. There was one game breaking bug I found, and thankfully only one. And I find bugs in this game all the time. I actually have I think it's like a 2.5-page list right now of just bugs that I found in the game. Yeah, I've had a rough time with this beta, but I've only found one game breaking bug, and I never found out if there was a solution for this bug. I wasn't able to find one, but it was actually, this was at the same time as Disarmed was making his like first person rig for what was your level called?
Visceral.
Yeah, you were making your first person build for Visceral, and there isn't a built-in like first-person rig in the game right now, so everybody's trying to make their own. I decided to give it a shot. But long story short, I was making this rig, and I hadn't saved in a while, which is the first nail in the coffin for me. But I was tinkering around with rotators in the camera, and in play mode, it decided to bug out and the camera flew off in just a random direction. Now, after play mode, when you go back into edit mode, your imp or your camera, your create space, doesn't go back to its like original like origin position. It goes to where it left off in play mode. So I'm in literally the middle of nowhere in space and I can't find where my creation is anymore.
Wow. Could you like rewind time and then play mode and then instantly go back to edit mode before it freaked out? Like recenter your camera?
No, because it wasn't set to auto possess. I had to actually like hover my imp over it and get inside. So jeez. I couldn't find a way to get back. So that was the one bug that actually like made me mad and actually frustrated with the game. But I don't know. Other than that, for me, it's like I just want more features. It seems like a lot of the features I use in the Little Big Planet games just weren't here. Like I remember in Little Big Planet, you like if you wanted to like you had pistons and it had a directional input. So that you can control where like what position the piston is set at. And that's not like a super easy thing to do anymore. I was wondering if you guys had any features that you wish were in the game right now, just to make your life easier.
I wish you could do more with laser scopes.
Yeah.
Like you can only detect certain labels, but I wish you could like detect certain tags, because like eventually you're gonna run out of labels or something. I feel like.
There's no option to like name like labels on certain things, right? Like I mean, you can name an object, put a tag that has that name on it, but you can't really make a custom like label in the label menu, right?
Yeah, a custom label would be really nice.
Yeah.
Or can you? I'm probably just really dumb.
You can't. I've tried when I was trying to figure out the labels versus tags. I think there's like around like 10 labels you can use right now. And I don't think that'll be enough for like,
I mean, you could, since you can detect like only objects with a specific combination of labels, and there are 10 labels, that means you have like 2 to the 10 combinations of like specific of like ways to label things. But that's really unintuitive, because then you have to remember, okay, this exact object has the scenery and the target and the enemy tag and nothing else. And it's like, what does that even mean? If you could name custom labels, that'd be really nice.
I haven't like, okay, so Raycast, or laser scopes, but we don't, it's like Raycast essentially, but just for the sake for people watching or listening, laser scope, so I don't mess around with them a lot. I have Roth do that, because if I even try using that, I feel like somehow I'm gonna crash the game. I don't know why. I'm just that bad at logic. But you can detect the signal. I say like a tag is on something. You can detect it, right, from laser scope. But can you send like? So I'm thinking of like, I remember Olympic Planet when people would make shooters, right, and they wanted to make really fun, like kind of similar to that. Like hitting something, they would use to. Well, I used to put something on like a hologram. I used to get a really long piece of hologram and put a tag on it, and then there would be an impact sensor for tags on the enemy. So when the hologram with the tag would turn on, the enemies would detect it immediately. Is there a way to send a signal out, like a tag signal from a laser scope, or no?
So I've used the laser scope once, and that was for Rocket Twinkie. And for that game, if anyone hasn't seen it yet, it's like an arcade where you're flying around like 2 axes as a Twinkie, and then there's stuff flying at you, and you have to dodge all the stuff. But I'm using the laser scope in that level to it's right on the Twinkie, and it sends out a cast, and if it hits a building, it'll spawn like a light on that building, and that's strictly so you can tell if your Twinkie is going to hit the building or not. It's to help you like with depth. And I did that by like sending the impact location of the laser to like a follower on a light. So, but if you're using that to like detect if it's hit something, you might be able to. I don't know if with the laser scope, if it hits something, if it'll output like what that thing is. Because if you can just wire it up. So like if it hits this thing, it'll kill that thing or like do damage to it or whatever.
Yeah, I use the laser scope a bunch, and I don't remember there being like an output for the object that gets hit. There's a location, an orientation, and hit distance. Those are like your 3 outputs, but there's nothing for like if it has a specific tag on it, or if it or like the output for which actual object got hit. I'm pretty sure, unless I'm misremembering.
Assuming there isn't an output, what you could do is have like a little invisible block just with like all the player tags on it. Then when a laser hits something, you can make it so that that block of tags goes to that location and checks what it hits. That's pretty like messy. That's a messy way of doing it, but that's how you would get around that issue.
I guess that is the workaround, yeah.
Because I would just think like it would be so smart for them to do it like wherever the beam hits, whatever surface it hits, if it can send out the data of a certain tag, because that would help a lot, I believe. Because when Roth is messing around with the current shooter mechanics for Project Zero, we're trying to get like increments like for the body. So like if you shoot someone in the arm, their whole arm like kind of becomes like stunned and they move to the side, or you shoot them in the head, this and that. But you had to do quite a little bit of a system, which still works really well. It's like clean. I never really noticed it's a problem, but I feel like as opposed to doing a system, just having simply the tag send out data from the stream or the scope, the laser of the tool, that would just help a lot.
Yeah, I guess it kind of makes sense why there wouldn't be like a way to detect a tag, because if you put a tag on like a group, if you have like 3 shapes in a group and you put a tag on one of them inside the group, and it like the laser scope hits like that object with the tag on it, do you like return the object within the group, or do you return the whole group, or like what do you do in that scenario? So I guess it kind of makes sense why they wouldn't have that feature.
The whole group system can get a little bit messy, and I know some people who like first pick up Dreams from an LBP background. They're like, "Where's a glue tool? How do I glue things together?" And the grouping tool, like just from a design perspective, is way better than gluing, because you have a lot more flexibility of what to do with the groups inside, or the objects inside the group. But like for people who like don't really like know what's going on, it can get really confusing. And I've had issues with grouping where it's like I want like an object inside a group to move relative to the group, and like it can get weird and confusing and messy when you have like physics objects inside a group. It can get confusing.
It's a little strange, like their whole I hate, like, it's like the scoping system. First off, scoping, and I don't think it's bad when you learn how to use it. I just think it's bad if you want people who don't have any idea how that stuff works to get used to it. Because I've seen a lot of people actually stop playing because they couldn't figure it out like fast enough, which worries me. I honestly think we should have something that's similar to gluing on the side, where it lets you link those two objects together almost. Because I still think it's a little strange I have to hold L1 and X behind another object in a certain way to, like, I guess, pair them together, orientation and all. I don't think it's too bad. I just know people who have had no patience to try learning it. It could probably use some adjustments, or if anything, separate create mode into different kind of modes. One that's like super simple for people who like don't understand like all those little things. And then like I guess this mode, like the one we have currently now, which is like the more I would say everything is like laid out for us. Like it's just you have to know what you're doing.
Yeah. Yeah, because even though there were some tutorials they gave us just to like help us hit the ground running, but we don't have all the tutorials. We don't really have like a music tutorial. I think we have like a sound effect tutorial, maybe.
There's like a really short music tutorial, I think, but it only tells you how to like. Actually, did I do that tutorial?
Yeah.
I might have skipped that one because I just went straight into the piano roll.
Yeah.
Which I don't even think that tutorial touches on. I think it's either just live performance and like slapping down like what are they called? The little
the reverb like effects and stuff like that.
No, like they're little music clips that you can just put down on a timeline. They teach you how to search for those.
Yeah. No, you're actually you like rebooted my memory. Yeah, no, the tutorial was basically telling you how to use timelines with music. It didn't actually tell you how to make music itself. And like this became a problem for me because I wanted to like perform with the music because like Media Molecule did like that live like music gig. And it was really cool, and I'm like, oh, I want to do that, but there wasn't a tutorial for that, so it took me a while to actually figure out how to like perform and then record that performance because it had like I didn't realize the sound effect you're using has to be, or the instrument you're using has to be on a timeline for that little record button to come up.
So that's sort of an interesting thing, though, is like I think it might be different for like us versus people who are just like, oh, what's Dreams? Let me try it. Because we've seen Media Molecule use stuff, like use a lot of different features. So we might be going into Dreams thinking like, okay, I know this is definitely possible. I just got to figure out the button combination to do it. Yeah. But like a lot of people, there are so many tools that they just probably don't even know about.
It's weird because I feel like one of the things is that similar to that, not everyone that goes into Dreams has any knowledge of how to do any of these things. Like again with Little Big Planet, I've seen people who make music now from Little Big Planet 2 and 3 who when they started didn't know how to do that stuff, but it was made simple, you know, like you kind of just grabbed an instrument and got into the piano roll and then you just started experimenting. I will say this, I feel like when you make music, a lot of that, because I teach music production here and there, and I feel like the best way to get into it is to really experiment and find out what gets you comfortable with, like the kind of notes, your style, this and that. I think the big problem I'm seeing right now is that they, for some reason, separated the draw tool for the piano roll in a whole different sub menu, and that becomes like when you're making music, you should be getting into it. You know, like it's supposed to be kind of like just you're flowing with it. But I feel like that momentum is broken when you try to put a note down. Yeah. And you can't because you have to back out, get the draw tool, go back in, use the draw tool, and if you're done with that arrangement, you have to repeat that process. And it becomes a little tedious almost. Like it kind of puts you off from like, oh, do I even want to put that extra note down now? Because it's like this whole process to do so.
Yeah, I agree. The draw note tool should be on by default when you're in the piano roll.
Yeah, it should be on the piano roll, honestly. It should be like one of the options on the top, like just go straight back into draw mode.
Yeah, that's interesting because I didn't know there was a draw tool. Like I made like one like music loop in the game, and the way I made that was I performed it first, and then I in the piano roll tweaked it, like either changed like the pitch of the instruments or whatever. But I didn't use the draw tool once because if I wanted to add a note, I actually just cloned a note I previously like played like when performing it. So yeah, that's really interesting. That is something where it's like it should just be a button on the top of the
the time
window.
Because we have that like with FL Studio, it's kind of like that, like on the piano roll for that, right? It has the piano roll, and then similar to how it has the delete all, the I'm gonna say the MIDI recorder area, like where you play the drums and record them freestyle, or anything. It has on the top like a little like a pencil, like you're supposed to switch back into it immediately. Because music is also one of those things where an idea in your head can only be there for so long before you have to try it down, Like you have that perfect melody in your head, that perfect chord. You're like, I need to put that down now. If you end up trying to go back to the menu, forget the idea, you're probably not going to finish that song. You're probably going to sit there and be like, ugh, and then close it up and go work on something else. It should be just snappy, like immediate. Like you don't even have to think about it, kind of. I feel like that wouldn't be too hard to like implement that function into the menu as another little circle, because they have a lot of space on that little side menu. But it would definitely help a lot because people need to be able to write down music ideas fast if they want to like keep working on something.
Yeah, I don't know if it makes sense to put it in the piano roll, because like the way they organize the tools is pretty effective, I think. Like all the tools are always in the same like menu. So if like one of the tools was just kind of in a button on the piano roll, that'd be kind of weird.
That's a pose. I mean, I definitely think they need to have it on that screen, because there's too many times where I just tried putting down a note and I would just grab the entire piano roll and start moving it around. Like I would try putting down a note and grab it, and I'd be like, oh no.
Yeah,
I would get distracted by that.
It took me a while to get used to like X interacts with like the things within the window, and then L2 actually moves the window around. And I don't know, I feel like there's like some specific cases where it's like those are like interchangeable buttons, and like sometimes like L1 actually interacts with the things inside the board and whatever. But I don't know, I think that might just be me.
I find it interesting how they did quick menus, like which I love. Like they did kind of like hotkey menus almost for everything. Like holding L1 and square will open up the tweak settings. Holding L1 and circle. Yeah.
The like the right click is essentially what that is, or shift click. And I'm glad they introduced that immediately when I was playing the tutorials, and like the tutorial man was like, if you press L1 and X, a new menu comes up. I'm like, that's shift click. Like they just straight up put shift click in the game.
I think they even say that the L1 is like the shift button.
Yeah, that is what they say in the tutorial. Yeah. Man, cross your fingers for keyboard support. Am I right? But,
my God. Maybe that's why it's there. You never know. I mean, I personally could work well with the DualShock 4.
If you press the shift key on the keyboard, that's like the shift key on the keyboard.
PlayStation keyboard. Oh my God, I'm waiting for them to do that. Man, I mean, I don't use keyboard that much, but I know they'll probably do it.
Did you guys own, in the LBP days, did you guys own the little attachment Bluetooth keyboard that went on the top of the controller?
My God, yeah.
No.
Oh, yeah, dude, it was the best.
Those things were huge. Yeah. And that controller, now that I look at it, back then I used to be like, this controller is awesome. I was just talking about yesterday how much I did not like the PS3 controller going back to it. Like, it's like weird, like fat, and like just, I don't know how to explain it. Empty. Like, it's so big, but it feels so like I feel like if I draw on the floor a little bit hard, I would smash it into pieces.
Yeah.
But, those keyboards, the mini ones, I don't see those anymore.
Yeah, I think they're less prevalent because, like, I don't know, like, of course, like, gaming culture is changing, so, like, I'm sure people are using voice chat more, and, I mean, to be frank, I don't know if there's that many games, like, with the social interaction that LBP had. Maybe there's some MMOs out there that I'm just unaware of. that do still use text chat and are and is useful to have a keyboard for. But so when it comes to controllers, do you guys if you have a pair of Move controllers, what do you use more, DualShock or Moves?
I'll Jelly go for real quick if you have anything.
I'm kind of thinking. I think I play a lot. I don't just create. So I use the DS4 by default. But if I'm doing like, and I use the DS4 for like logic and music and that kind of stuff. But if I'm doing like heavy sculpting or painting or like moving around assets for level design or whatever, then I like to use the Move controllers for that.
For me, like I don't have any Move controllers, but I've used Move before, and I would say that PlayStation does a very good job at motion controllers. Like I don't think I've ever used Moves before. I never complained at all, like ever. Even when Little Big Planet, I used to think it was like very snappy and solid. But I use the DualShock 4 a lot. I'll probably get Moves in the future, but like in terms of DualShock 4 right now, I'm a very like slow at like certain things creator. Like I like to sit there with the creation for hours and keep working on it. So I don't think I've ever had like problem where I've needed something to be a certain way, because I know it'll get to that point with time. It'll probably cut down the process a bit, but even then I'm very like I always enjoy like a process with things. When I made B2, his name is Beef, mind you. He's the robot in Curiosity, but I call him B2 because that doesn't sound as strange. I don't know why I call him Beef, because he looks like all bulky.
Is it in any way connected to 2B from Nier?
No, they're two different creatures, man. I mean, like the level for Curiosity is beautiful, and then 2B is beautiful. So like they're like two different things. Oh my god! But when I was working on his sculpt, I was kind of just sitting there, working on like the little things with the DualShock, because I was using the grid, because he's like not organic, he's a robot. And even with organic things, I used like the controller. I just took time using blend modes and everything. I remember there was like a common misconception, and it seems like that because they promote the game with moves in mind, but they made it seem like if you didn't have moves, you were not going to be able to build anything, or maybe at least not to like a certain level. But I would actually say for all the people who get like downplayed the DualShock 4, you can do some pretty good stuff if you're just really good at like placement, you know? Yeah. Maybe not if you have shaky hands.
Yeah, but I was really doubtful at first because of like, you know, whenever there's a Media Molecule stream, they usually have a set of Move controllers, especially for the Kareem streams when he's sculpting like individual muscles of like a bust or something crazy like that. They're using Move controllers, and they have said in past live streams before the beta, because they were asked this question as well, like, do you use the DualShock or do you use Moves? I remember one reply was like, it depends on what you're actually doing. And at first I was kind of doubtful of that. I was like, well, I mean, it seems like one is obviously better than the other for like everything. Like, like wouldn't like the moves be better for like just everything in general because you have the extra access to work with? But after playing the game, I get it. Like for me, because like I don't do a lot of sculpting. I mainly just like try to make like game mechanics and stuff. Like actually, a useful feature of Dreams is that it actually tells you what you do the most. My thing says design, that I do design more than everything else, which means I tinker around with logic. But when it comes to strictly sculpting, if you're playing Dreams because you like sculpting characters, you like making characters, or like you're just sculpting whatever, moves are 100% the way to go. Just that extra access makes it a lot easier to do some strokes, because with the regular Move controller, the like the actual gyroscope covers the X and Y axis, and then Z axis you use the left stick up and down. And it is really good to hear, like you, Disarm, that you can sculpt really detailed stuff just with the controller. But I do have to say, like for my sculpting specifically, it's been easier to use the move controllers. Now, with that said, I do prefer the DualShock when it comes to logic and stuff like that, just because I'm more comfortable. I can have my arms rested down.
Yeah, like with the logic, you can only really, like with both move controllers, one of them is for like opening and closing your palette or whatever. I don't know the official menu or name, but like left trigger on the left one is just for like holding the menu basically, and you do everything else with your right hand, or vice versa if you're lefty. But like with logic especially, you can only ever place one thing at a time, because you can't pick up anything with your left hand, since that's basically just your menu hand. So it's like if you're using move controllers, your left hand is almost always doing nothing, so it's a lot nicer to just use a DS4 for logic and stuff. That said, the move controllers make you feel a lot like Bob Ross, which is automatically a huge plus.
Just painting everything. Yeah, like I messed around with the moves before. I definitely will say, like, see, like I'm a little strange. Like I moved it when I use the PS4 DualShock. I like swing my arms up to get certain strokes. So like with the move, it's like a gentle like slide up, kind of like a paint stroke.
Yeah. I know I got an interesting bug with actually the moves that has actually kind of like made me not want to use them. And this has been acknowledged by Media Molecule, and they've already reproduced the bug and they're fixing it. But so I had a move controller for when like the Move DLC came out for Little Big Planet 2. So, and that was in the PS3 days, so I had like basically like a PS3 model of the Move controller. Then when Dreams was announced, this was right before VR was announced, so before they hiked the price up. But I bought another Move controller in preparation for Dreams, but it was a newer model. So like during the PS4's release, it was a newer model controller. And there's this bug where it's like, if you have these two different models, or I think if you have two models of like the older version, like one of your controllers, it usually doesn't matter which one. I think it's like either always the left hand or always the right hand, but it'll jitter around. Like the tracking will not be stable. However, as you play on, like maybe like if you sculpt a little bit or like a couple minutes later, it'll go back to perfect tracking. So like it's for that reason why I've honestly been playing more with the DualShock controller. But I thought that was honestly just a really interesting bug. And there was one other guy on the feedback forums that was experiencing it as well. But
I don't know if it's the same thing you were talking about, but there's also a bug with the DS4 where there's like controller drift, where like if you just put your DS4 on the table, your imp will slowly move to the right or to the left or whatever.
I've been having that. That's actually been driving me mad.
Yeah, that happens especially like you especially notice that when you're trying to hover over something to see the help tooltip, and you're holding it over there, you go to read it, you read halfway through it, and that disappears because your imp drifted to the right.
I think that might actually be a hardware issue, because I remember experiencing that with some other VR games.
Oh damn, that's not good.
Like that's the trouble with reporting these kinds of bugs, like especially when I was getting the Move controller bug. At first I thought I just had a busted controller, but I realized like it wasn't acting that way in like VR games, so I was like, this is weird. Like it's so hard to tell whether these bugs are hardware or software sometimes. So you just have to rely on other people like sharing the same experience.
It's hard to tell with Dreams whether something's a bug or if you just don't know what you're doing. I think there were 2 or 3 bugs I reported where like someone responded to me and was like, did you try turning this setting off? And I was like, I didn't know that existed. Okay, it's not a bug. I'm just an idiot.
Yeah, there are a couple times where I posted in the feedback forums like, how do you do this? And then like 10 minutes later, I figure it out, and I'm like, okay, never mind.
Yeah, I'm like, I forgot what I did that. I was kind of like blaming. Oh, so I didn't know you couldn't turn scopes like opaque. Like I thought that was like something that I just didn't know what to do, and apparently it's not something you can do. So I remember sitting there like telling everyone like, how the heck do I turn this square like kind of transparent? And I spent like 2 days trying to find out how to do that like immediately until I found out that was just something you could not do.
Yeah.
Which kind of got me a little ticked off.
What you do is you grab 6 text tools
and place
you make a cube.
Oh my god!
The opacity on all of them. There you go.
Yeah, I think the text tool is like I'm just gonna say this sounds strange, but all the things I've messed around with that game, I think the text tool is probably my favorite.
Yeah,
I know that sounds so weird, but that tool is versatile as heck.
I didn't realize it until I saw people like making characters in water with it on like Twitter. I was like, wait, what? Text tool?
Yeah.
What do you mean?
Dude, like Steve Big Guns, I don't know how he did it exactly. I'm pretty sure he had like a whole bunch of text tools on, like, you know that little Captain Shadow thing?
Yeah, I saw that.
Like, it has all these things on the surface that looks just like water. I mean, not real water, but it's water. It's water in Dreams, and that's all I need to know.
The best looking water there is so far.
Yeah.
Made with text tools.
Made with text tools. Oh, Johnny B. This one blew my mind. I'm definitely going to use this now for the project I was working on. The light rays coming out of the windows. Text tool.
Yeah.
What?
Really?
The God rays.
Yeah, the God rays coming out of the window? That's text tools. I was like, oh my god.
Seems like the text tool is just the greatest visual tool in this game.
Yeah.
It's like the hologram in LVP2.
Yeah, true.
Yeah,
Which they then upgraded with the sticker material, the sticker panel.
Oh,
what is it called?
It was sticker panel. You got it right.
Yeah,
Okay.
sticker panel. It's real quick. I remember it right now. We're talking about bugs. This one's gonna sound weird, but it happened on stream with the molecules watching. So this even got me kind of gulping because this is like eerie almost. I opened up. I was praising one of the molecules levels during the like playing through some of the levels on the community.
Mm-hmm.
And I saw like the spaceship one. I forgot what it's called, but it looks super cool. It's like solid and everything. It's made by the molecules. It's like maybe the 8th, 7th highest community level. And I opened it saying like, yeah, you know what? This level alone is amazing. Like, this shows like what this game can do. Because I mean, come on, that's cool. I'm in a spaceship, flying around space, shooting other ships in between like an asteroid field. I start the level up, and here I am praising it. Like, this is really solid, and I'm surprised I haven't crashed. I think I said, and as I say that, the screen does this weird transition out before it puts me in the main level. I'm like in the sub menu, like the start menu, and I try to transition to the actual level. There's a link in between them, obviously, and it stops, and I just see on the screen out of memory. And I was like,
oh my god!
And I sat there. Everybody started writing stuff in the chat, and I was kind of like, out of like, what is that? Like, oh wait, what the? At the point that I said "what the" halfway, I crash, and the stream ends. And I have to scatter to get back on the game and get back on the live stream. But everybody like literally saw like my last words at that moment was, "Oh, what the?"
out of memory. I'm guessing that's a thermo bug then. Like, unless I don't know, that might be an engine thing. Like that's actually
I think it might
crazy.
be an engine thing. Yeah. And I don't know if it's a problem that's just a general thing with other games, but I've never seen it with other games. I think it's just, and it sounds weird, but I think it's like a medium molecule thing. Because Little Big Planet did that sometimes. Sometimes I would try to play a level, and I think my profile would get overloaded with data. But I don't know what the case was. It would be like out of memory. Can't play this level. I don't know if that's how their engines work. I don't know if the Bubble Bath engine, I think that's the current engine this is running on, runs off the same, I guess, systems as the Little Big Planet one, which would make sense because same studio, probably built on the same design, just better. But that scared the living heck out of me. Yeah,
it could simply just be Media Molecule's fail-safe for just running on a console. Like just a fail-safe to like maybe prevent like hard crashes or something like that. Now, of course, it crashed right after it gave you that message. So the they should double check their fail-safe. But Actually, speaking of levels, so let's go over some of our favorite stuff that we found, made by other people, because, like, of course, like, this is the creator beta, like, Media Molecule wants to test the creator tools, but I don't think Media Molecule expected, like, like some of the stuff that people have been creating. Like, what are some highlights, like, that you guys have seen, some hidden gems in the Dreamiverse?
Hidden gems, or... I mean, like, the one that really blew my mind was Big Surf's
encounter. I was about to say that, the encounter.
That just visually is like, oh my god.
Yeah. Oh, that was the space one with the little flying robot, right?
Yeah,
that one was really cool.
Hidden gems, though, there's this really dumb level called Man Has Somewhere He Needs to Be. It's just like... Every time I think about it, I laugh.
Is it the walking animation?
Yeah, it's just a default-looking puppet standing there on like this long ramp to like an ice cream stand or something. As soon as you start walking to him, his legs grow giant and he does this like super extra confident walk over to this ice cream stand. And it's the greatest level.
I think besides the Big Surf thing, I think one of the most highest achievements of the game so far in terms of power is what are you looking at? I think that honestly shows how powerful that game is.
That
best soundtrack 2019.
Yeah, no, that's great because like game journalists are playing these levels as well. Like like Eurogamer, as soon as the NDA was lifted, Eurogamer did like a video and a live stream. Like actually in the Eurogamer video, they showed off your really early Zelda level, Rabid.
Why would they do that?
The Zelda.
Why would they do that? The only my thought process was like, I'm gonna go into create mode and figure stuff out. And I made grass by accident. I like made a rock by accident. I pasted it around, and then I ran around with a puppet, and I was like, this feels like Breath of the Wild. So I made some really shitty Breath of the Wild music, and I was like, well, it's done. And then I looked on Dream Surfing. No one had figured out how to publish dreams yet. And I was like, I'm gonna be the first. So I like put it in a dream and I published it. So Zelda is the first dream ever published.
Yeah,
and that's my 15 minutes of fame story. And now it's in a Game Informer video, I guess, for some reason. I just remember watching that video and I was like, wait.
Yeah, no, or I mean, it was either Game Informer or Eurogamer. I know literally on the podcast before this one, I mixed up those two so much.
Right, I don't remember.
Like some video game journalism site, but I know Giant Bomb actually did a big session in Dreams where they did a big live stream where they were just playing community levels, and like it's funny. Like I don't watch Giant Bomb regularly, but like I've heard from talking to other people that they can be very critical of like the games they play, especially like VR games. I know like the very first VR stream they did, they were like wailing on these like pre-VR games that were still figuring it out. But like when they were playing Dreams, they were actually like just blown away by everything. And they were actually just like giving really good like impressions, really positive impressions. So it's like, hey, if a really critical like YouTube channel thinks Dreams is great, then like that's a great achievement.
Yeah, I mean, they might have been cutting it some slack because that's something I think about is I think a lot of people are blown away by things just because they're made in Dreams. Like a lot of the things in Dreams are impressive, but if you took them away and like put them on Steam or something, then everyone would kind of it'd be underwhelming.
Yeah.
So it's like I'm a little pessimistic, and it's like how long until the novelty wears off, where people are like, a lot of these games are bad. Like I don't know.
I think we'll see what people did, like because I'm seeing some talking about hidden gems like for legit now. I mean, so Virtually Vain, he did a procedurally generating landscape sort of thing.
Yeah, I've seen that.
and I was talking to him about certain process. Like, I mean, I didn't know he was doing that on Dreams. We talked about something he wants to do something way later, but I don't know if he closed that. But I remember joining the stream when he was doing it, and I was just watching him do it, and I was like, what in the world? Like, it was like making rocks on like terrains that were going like downwards, playing it. Like, he had a whole system set up, and I was just like, wow, this game really is just a crazy, like, this is just a platform, if anything. Or I don't know if I could call it an engine, because it could be like insulting to actual people who use engines. But this definitely is like a whole new step up in terms of developing stuff.
Yeah.
I'd call it an engine. It's just a really heavily gamified game engine.
Yeah. It's funny because like I'm in college. I'm like actually currently tinkering around with engines for like various classes. I tried learning Unreal, like starting with Unreal, and that didn't really work out. I was just like confused. I figured like the really good documentation would help me out, but
yeah, Unreal doesn't have a learning curve. It has just a giant cliff that you have to scale, and then it's kind of okay after that.
Yeah, like
took me like 7 attempts before I could get anywhere with Unreal.
Yeah, like Dreams definitely, like I think it can definitely be considered an engine, because like I feel like it would only be like insulting to actual game engines if kind of like we mentioned earlier, like if you could put really crappy games on Steam and stuff like that, and like the PlayStation Store, like if like as long like if it was basically an engine for WiiWare basically, then like it would be frowned upon. But because it's its own separate thing, and it's very obviously aimed towards people who want to learn how to make games and people who want to learn the processes of game development and stuff like that. So because it's very transparent like that, like, and it works, like it is an actual engine. It has its own systems for how to make graphics and stuff like that. So
yeah, it's funny. I actually have been doing this for the last month. So since I've been starting to play Dreams, because I like to build everything from scratch. I never like to use other people's assets unless it's like logic, you know? But if it's like a physical object, a piece of a scene, I like to build them from scratch. Because like it's just interesting to me. I like seeing everything in the scene be probably made by me. It helps me out learn how to do more of that, etc. So I've realized every time I play another game now, let's see, what game was I playing recently that I was like staring at everything, like not even playing the game, I was just staring at all the assets and how it was done. I played Soma. It's from the developer of Amnesia. Yeah, and I want to do something in that kind of style. I haven't really disclosed what that would be yet, but I want to do something in that style, just very dark corridor looking, like with all those like sci-fi kind of things, like dystopian sci-fi. And I was sitting there like amazed at like something I've never done before, and I played a game, but now I was doing it so much. Instead of worrying about the monster in the distance or worrying about like the objective, I would go up to like little objects in the environment, just stare at them and think like, how long did it take for them to design that? You know?
Yeah. Definitely the strongest aspect of Dreams is the collaborative focus. Like the fact how because in Little Big Planet you had your little poppet and you could go into your saved objects. So you could access those, or you could access objects that you've collected online, like specifically played and collected, or the stuff Media Molecule has made. Like what makes Dreams awesome is that when you're in create mode, you can just hit like the search button, and then just whatever anyone has uploaded, it's there immediately. You can type in like, if you want like a rock, then I'm sure there's a billion rocks. I know there's at least like 3 different versions of cheeseburgers that people have created. One of them is mine. Where if you need a cheeseburger in your level, you don't have to make it. You can just grab this this thing that someone made online. Like in one of my friends' levels, I put it was like a diner level, and it was Avery's. Let's rat him out. But I was like, Avery, I want to put cheeseburger in your diner. He's like, okay. So I get out the cheeseburger I made, but then I'm like, oh wait, it's a diner. I'm not just gonna leave the cheeseburger like on the table. That's awful. And so I just look up dinner plate, and boom, someone made a really nice looking dinner plate. So now. It's not a release project. I don't know if it's ever gonna be released, but it's like I added that.
That was like one of the greatest feelings for me, was realizing that moment, because I'm like disarmed usually, where I like to make everything myself. Like I'm working on on something in Unreal right now that's like a first person puzzle game, and like I just started doing an art pass, so I needed better looking rocks, so I had to go into Blender, learn Blender, like make a rock mesh, figure out how to like get like I don't even know, like the UV map and all that, and get it like the lighting correct, and then I could finally put it down in like Unreal. With Dreams, it was like I started doing something similar, like a first person puzzle game. Like I don't know if you played Gold Valley, but
no, I did. I loved it. I loved the little like.
So I like started making that. I started making the world, and I was like, well, I guess I got to figure out how to make a rock. And then suddenly, like, I was like, wait, no, I don't. And I just go search for a rock, and I found one that I liked, and started copy pasting it everywhere. And I was like, holy shit, I don't have to do things. I can just like search for what I want, and it's there. And it's so I can be so fast now.
Yeah,
like
dude,
the greatest feeling.
It's amazing. Like I can't even imagine. Like they've really like just stepped it up. The whole like being able to search for stuff during create mode. I can't imagine it was too stressful on the system either, because loading up levels is like, oh, I can't even give a time like of how fast it is to load a level up. Also, I'm a little ticked off now because I just recalled something. That cheeseburger you made is in almost every creation I see. I went into the visceral I was looking through my levels trying to look for Project Zero, like Rock's build of it, and I just see like the visceral like work in progress area, and I was like, what in the world? I go in the level and turn to my right, and in the darkness, I see a cheeseburger.
I'm so happy. Okay, this was a couple nights ago, because I was just in a PlayStation call with like Avery and them, and I make a cheeseburger, and I'm like, I come to the realization that I'm like, I'm in like a bunch of projects that my friends have sent me as a collaborator. I'm just gonna hide a secret cheeseburger in all of these levels. That's exactly what I did. But thankfully, I'm not a jerk about it. Like I save it as a version, so it's like a separate version. And in the version notes, I put burger time.
Just so people don't lose their data.
Yeah. But I am waiting for that one moment where it's like one of my friends like makes an amazing level and put a lot of thought into it, and they're like, all right, it's basically finished. If you could just play test it and let me know how it goes, then I can upload it.
Burger.
And I'm just like, I'm gonna play test it and add a burger and not tell them. So when they publish it, there's a secret burger.
Oh my god. Well, now I know I'm not making you a collaborator. No, I can't wait. You know,
I know I am making you a collaborator.
I did this to Pratt, actually. I'm gonna say Pratt, so I don't like disclose his full name if he chooses not to. But basically, he had that like the turtle level, right? The like little turtle valley.
Licorice Lake, I think.
Okay. I went to that level, and at some point during like 1 in the morning, I just went inside the level, and without even second guessing it, made a giant Banjo-Kazooie all the way with the sun is next to it. And I recorded me going, like, why, like when you turn around to look at him. So you just see like in the shadows, like a Colossus banjo and just like really ominous humming. The music stops and everything. I took 10 minutes to set all that up. And I remember telling him like, hey, can you go on your level and check it out? And just his impression was hilarious. I laughed for like a whole straight hour after that.
Yeah, that's awesome. It's funny because I put a burger in that actual Banjo character level, and you know how there's that Banjo like super far away. I made him hold a giant burger. Like it's my new favorite thing to do. I'm sorry, but if you make me a collaborator for everything, you better watch out.
You're gonna get burger.
You're gonna get burger time.
It would make sense for in Project Zero to just have a burger because New York, so I'm pretty sure there's like burgers and like hot dogs. I can just imagine in like down the street of that one metro presentation area, you just see in the shadows a giant burger in the corner of the street. The real enemy is revealed.
Oh yeah.
Oh my god. Yeah, I love Dreams. Like I'm just gonna say it straight up. Most people will give it some slack or won't give it any, like, I don't know how to explain it. They get deep into it because it's not like a bona fide full-on engine, but at the same time, the fact that people are doing some of the stuff they're doing on just that alone, like, blows my mind.
Especially
like,
only having it for a month or whatever.
Oh, yeah. Like when we can actually make projects. Like I definitely have projects planned, and I'm sure everybody does. But it's like once people actually have time, like to actually fulfill like big projects and like actually do big collaborations and stuff like that, it's gonna be nuts.
Yeah.
And just quickly, just to mention, if you are in the beta. And you want any of your creations to carry over to the full game, make sure you have them saved either privately or publicly. If you don't know how to do that, go to Media Molecule's Twitter. They have a quick video on how you can do that. But otherwise, you're just going to lose all your stuff. Anything saved only locally to the console, you're going to lose it. So keep that in mind.
Yeah.
Yep.
I definitely can't afford to be losing any.
Yeah. I ain't losing my burger. I have that saved.
And everyone's freaking level.
Most important. Yeah.
That thing is just everywhere. Yeah. That thing, you can lose it even if you want to. It's everywhere now. It's like that one scene from Adventure Time where like that one dude's hand gets cut between multiple dimensions. So now it's like everywhere. That burger is everyone's level.
It's like a virus now.
Yeah.
It just spreads. Soon, like, other people will be placing the same burger without, like, your help. They're just gonna take the same burger and put it in other people's
That's
stuff.
the goal. If I can have, like, a Wilhelm scream, but it's just a burger.
Oh my god. Everyone wants the burger in their level. Like, it's a sign of, like, a dream project. Everything.
Look, all I'm gonna say is if you're listening to this podcast and you're in the beta, or actually by the time this comes out, the beta is gonna be over. But in the full in the full game, look, I'm not saying put that burger somewhere in your level, but if you want to, I'll be very happy. All right. Well, let's do some wrapping up thoughts. So overall, after creating in the beta, we've had it for 6 weeks. After tinkering around with all the tools, reporting bugs, everything like that. What's your main thoughts on the beta, and what are your expectations for like when the actual full game comes out? Did you like the beta, and does this give you hope that Dreams will be worth it after waiting 5 years now for the game to come out?
Yeah.
I had like super high expectations before the beta came out because I'd been waiting for so long, and just like seeing the developers talk about it, like they clearly cared about it a lot, and they're very talented developers. So like leading up to the beta, I had really high expectations, and they were still blown away. Like 10 out of 10 beta game is going to be 10 out of 10 when it comes out. Probably going to top LVP is like my favorite game of all time.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I'll say this. I love the heck out of Little Big Planet, but there was like a feeling, like there's a sensation that I'm gonna have the craziest withdrawal from come tomorrow.
Yeah.
I am going to be miserable. I can already feel it now. I'm already kind of upset because I'm thinking in my head like I can't even really work on something right now because I'm not gonna be able to release it until like the game comes out.
Yeah.
But I will say that this game, without a doubt, I hope does not go under the radar because it is a gem. Like there are certain things that are still rough around the edges, but those are things that can be fixed. Like they're not like, oh, the whole thing is like a mess. But the game itself is incredible. Like I actually would say this has probably been the best 1 month of my creative life in the last 3 years. Like it's been insane. I'm gonna miss playing this thing like every day.
Yeah. Like I'm the same way here. Like Little Big Planet 1 got me into like game design and like wanting to like do like film and media arts and all that kind of stuff. And Dreams is really just the pinnacle of that. Like easily, if you enjoyed user-generated content games like Little Big Planet, Minecraft, Project Spark, like anything, even if you are already familiar with like Unity and Unreal, and you just want more of like a casual experience, like Dreams is meeting expectations and fulfilling expectations. And like my main concern was like hopefully like I hope that the community like keeps in pace with the game. Like hopefully like the community will like stay big so that we keep getting like new creations and new assets and stuff. But even with like the small beta build where it's like private invitation only, not as many players as like when it actually releases, there's already so much to like soak in, and there's so many things out there to play like just daily. Like I used to browse through the new creations just to see what everybody was making, but now I can't do that because like stuff is coming out so quick. I just like it's crazy.
I got like one last note on my behalf for people who have made it this far into the podcast are interested in Dreams. Please remember that, because I know everybody wants more than they can get or people can give, but at the end of the day, Meal Molecule is just a big group of people who also love doing the same thing you are, and they're only human. So like this game, like, you know, I don't want people like, because I see people give them a lot of like you know
crap.
Not crap. Yeah, straight up. They just give them a lot of crap, you know, like, and I guess I understand it from like certain developer stances, but this is like an ambitious project, you know. This isn't just something you wake up one morning and immediately do. This was like 5, and I'm saying 5 from what we know. You know, they probably work on this a little bit longer because of the demonstration.
I think they've been working on it since LBP2. It's been like 7-8 years almost. Yeah,
so I hope people who like are playing the game or see the game and don't think too much of it, like, it's good to be like, if there's a discussion that has to happen for the game, that's totally understandable. But try not to crap on the creators, because like they are just other developers or people who love creating stuff, and this kind of stuff is hard to make. Like,
also, PSA: asking for the release date does not make them announce the release date sooner.
Yeah, just you gotta like just be patient. This is a very
give them
big
space, please. Just give them space.
Yeah, just keep following. Like they're constantly saying, like even before the beta, they're constantly saying like they're itching to get this game within our hands, and like they're just working so dang hard on this game, just like day in and day out. I can't imagine like what kind of hours they're working. Hopefully it's not too many. Hopefully it ain't Rockstar hours, but just let them do what they do. Even now, like, we're waiting on a release date. Like, it'll come when it'll come. Like, it's good to speculate on release dates based on, like, the LBP games and all that, but, like, just give them their space. They're so talented, and they're just so,
nice.
Yeah, they're just nice. such a good studio, and they're really looking after their fans. So good things come to those who wait. I know that's annoying to hear constantly in relation with this project, but that's just how it is.
Patience is a virtue.
Oh yeah. So So thank you very much, Rabid Jellyfish and Disarm, for joining me here. This beta has been such a ride. And it's going to close tomorrow, so don't want to keep you too much. Make sure you finish up anything in your last few hours with this game.
I'm just going to go cry for the next few hours until it's 12.
Yeah.
No, play the beta and then go cry.
Yeah.
So thank you very much for listening to this podcast. Look forward to more podcasts in the future, and look forward to the full release of Dreams. Make sure you follow Media Molecule and Dreambubble on Twitter for the most recent news, and have a good morning, evening, or night. Have a good one. Goodbye.